why you wouldn't survive Fallout by the infographic show. This video was actually recommended to me by Topher Clay, so special shout out to you, Topher, for the recommendation. It should be a fun one, but on the topic at hand, I agree. I don't think I would survive. I know I wrote nah, I'd survive up here as a little Easter egg, but I would not. If I'm not a vault dweller, brother, it's over for me. The moment I see a rad roach, get me the hell out, end me. But let us see what this video has to say.
You're sitting in your room one day when suddenly a silvery portal opens up, and through it steps Todd Howard,
No way.
beckoning you in to join him in a land of fantasy.
See that portal? You can go through that portal.
Adventure. You follow him through the portal to end up in the world of Fallout, which is like Skyrim, but better because it has guns. And
so true. Not because of the guns. I've just never been super into the fantasy setting, but I do love me a post-apocalyptic setting.
Americans have discovered everything's better with guns, except you're screwed because you
Except schools.
wouldn't survive a day in the Fallout universe.
True.
In many ways, you're basically a fresh vault dweller, leaving the safe confines of their vault for the horrors of the wasteland. Assuming your vault wasn't a horrific torture chamber.
I mean, if we go off of like actual Fallout rules and lores, and that just lets me, like, if I have a high enough skill, I can, 95% shoot everything with VATS, I might have a chance. I might. If I can just stop time, if I have superpowers, I might.
Performing some nefarious scientific or sociological experiment, the wide open world of Fallout beckons to you, and it's literally just waiting to kill you.
Could you imagine coming across a Deathclaw? Like, you put me in power armor, I'm still dying.
We do mean the world, because this is, after all, a Todd Howard franchise, which means your first step
Ooh, a
in
lot of people are not going to like that sentence. I'll let the comments attack it.
the world of Fallout is likely going to be your last, as you clip through the terrain or get stuck
Oh, wait,
in
never mind. He was making fun of the glitches. We're safe. We're safe.
wall somehow. Remember, it all just works. If the horror of randomly clipping through terrain and falling into an endless void isn't enough to convince you, though, don't worry. There are a whole lot of other reasons you have zero chance of surviving
Yo, I've never seen the Vault Boy look so cursed before. Oh my god.
Fallout. Back in the real world, if you chose to spawn in the American server during character creation, then well done, because you have a 300% increased
Let's
chance of
go.
survival due to the wasteland bursting with literally apocalyptic level gun violence that you'll be comfortably familiar with. But if back in the real world you chose to play as one easy mode and pick
Yo,
the
when's Fallout London dropping that mod? Should be soon, right? I know they messed stuff up with the next gen update, but hey.
European server, then you're in serious trouble. As you stumble out of your vault, the first thing you're gonna be asking yourself is, where's all the free healthcare? And why is everyone so angry? And unless you're from Paris,
Yeah, you see, we Americans, we were built for this. We were built to suffer. You wouldn't understand.
you'll be wondering why there's trash everywhere and nobody's picking it up. Your first danger scurries toward you on an uncomfortable number of legs. It's giant rad roaches, named for the mutating effect that
Yo, actually, tell me if this is wrong or not. I heard in the UK, they don't have roaches, but they do have silverfish, which is a bug. Can anyone confirm? Was I lied to? Accidentally?
radiation had on them, turning them into massive versions of the common house roach. Again, unless you're from Paris, you'll likely be alarmed by a cockroach the size of your leg. And you definitely should be, because these massive insects are absolute murder monsters. Real cockroaches are ravenous. They can eat almost anything. They can
No,
survive.
yeah, we're not winning this. Like, I assume roaches are similar in strength to ants. I know ants are stronger, but like if there was a human-sized ant, we'd just die. They could yeet trucks. You know what I mean? I assume a rad roach would also be similarly strong at that size. Maybe not a truck, but they can destroy a human,
being stomped on thanks to the incredible strength of their exoskeleton. And they have a bite force as much as 50 times their own body weight.
Well,
That means
yeah,
a
GG's. I called it right in the beginning. You show me a rad roach, just end me there.
10-pound cockroach will be crunching down on you with a bite force of 500 pounds per square inch, while your pathetic bite tops out at around 162.
Well, we wouldn't be attacking with bites.
But it's that exoskeleton.
Yo,
that's-
a rad roach is far bigger than someone's torso, I think. I don't think this is proper. I'm picturing a rad roach to be like at least this chonky, like here to here. And then lengthwise here to like here. At least in my head. Maybe I'm overdoing it.
It's the real problem, because not only do cockroaches have very few truly critical bits of biology that'll guarantee a quick kill, but anything short of a very high caliber rifle simply won't do much against the exoskeleton of a 10-pound cockroach.
Luckily, I play a stealth archer in every single Fallout game.
Cockroaches you're going to go up against are much bigger than 10 pounds. Estimates place most rad roaches the size of a cat, and with all that exoskeleton,
Really?
they can end up weighing around 20 pounds. And there's bigger, larger
This is what I was thinking.
variants the size of a man. Unless you're a Parisian, you're probably not used to dealing with cockroaches
I
the
do enjoy all of the French dunking in here. It's very amusing.
size of a human. Arming yourself is a top priority, and there's good and bad news on that front as well. The good news is that Fallout is officially modeled on the daily life inside the average American city,
So
which
true.
means there are guns everywhere.
You know, we just shoplift, we shoot. This is very accurate.
Cheap, and there's tons of loopholes to easily acquire them. If you opted for the American origin in character creation back in the real world, you probably even have some experience operating them. If, however, you opted for the
I'm from the north. Despite having this hat, it's a fake. This is my real hat. Never shot a gun. I have had a gun pulled on me, though.
European origin, you're likely confused as to why an American player isn't directly subsidizing your own defense while you complain endlessly about them. Guns are actually pretty delicate instruments, and a makeshift pipe gun or even a pre-war relic is just as likely to blow up your hand as it is to actually kill whatever you're aiming at. Right now, though, you don't really have a choice. So in the famous words of America's de facto father, George Washington, it's time to get strapped before you get clapped. On top of mutated insects with nearly bulletproof carapaces, there's a disturbing amount of wild dogs
Oh,
running around.
man. This would be so hard for me. I love animals so much, and I guess if it's, irradiated and trying to eat me, I would do it, but it's so hard. It really is. I don't want it. I don't even like killing dogs in game.
Again, if you're from Paris, back in the real world, this is probably pretty familiar to you. But for the rest of us, wild packs of bloodthirsty mongrels are a serious problem. These mutated hounds used to be man's best friend, but now they just want to be best friends with your innards. And since they come in large packs, it's best just to avoid them when possible. By this point in your journey out of the vault, you probably started to
Dog
encounter
meat.
members from several different factions, and pretty much all of them are bad news. Most are just gonna try to kill you or each other on sight, turning a stroll through the ruins of yesteryear into an average day out in an American city.
Yeah, I'd be so schizophrenic, trusting no one, not even Preston.
Some might even appear helpful or beneficial, but then you'd be a fool to trust them. Pick your favorite faction.
NCR. Though the Atom Cats does go kind of hard. Honestly, bro, can I just chill in the Institute? Can I just be safe?
You think you could survive by hanging out with them? Think again. How about the Brotherhood of Steel? They
Def
seem
not. I'm not gonna be someone's slave with all due respect.
like the good guys, if you ignore the lore. Turns out these armored titans can just turn you into human jelly with one power-armored fist. But they are wildly xenophobic techno-tyrants. If you've got any piece of pre-war tech you brought with you from the real world...
Oh,
like, say,
wait. If I bring in the iPhone, they would just steal it, I guess. But maybe if you have a high enough charisma score, you could frame it as you're a messiah from the future. Because they won't know. You know what I mean? They won't know that's technically from the past, quote unquote.
an iPhone, then bad luck for you, my friend, because the Brotherhood wants it and they don't necessarily want you along with it. See, according to the Brotherhood, the public is a bunch of ignorant peasants who
I mean, they would drop me off on the East Coast, so I'd be near the East Coast Brotherhood of Steel, presumably. I like my chances with them more than the West Coast. I think it could work, actually. Convincing the Brotherhood that you're a messiah from the future. I think so.
be trusted with technology. It was this ignorance that helped bring about the end of the world, and, well, we just checked the comment section in our TikTok, and you know what? We can't really blame the Brotherhood anymore. Maybe you want to roll in New Vegas, a
Bro,
bastion.
could you imagine trying to join the Legion? I sided with them in New Vegas, but in real life, that's got to be the worst one to join.
Of independence amidst the warring factions of the NCR and Caesar's Legion. This city is a libertarian dream, in that anyone stronger
Caesar's
than you
Legion,
has the
by the way.
complete freedom to basically
Excuse
do
you.
whatever they want to you, because nobody's gonna stop them. Remember, kids, cops and the courts to enforce laws require taxes, and taxes are just another form of theft. Speaking of Caesar's Legion, if you got a real bad case of main character syndrome, then the Legion will give you a quick reality check. Point 1. You, with all your first world problems, are not in fact cut out to maraud in the wastelands. Point 2, you're going to be a slave. Point 3, that is if they don't crucify you first. So how about
I mean,
the
you're probably gonna like end up a slave in most things you join. Maybe, nah, honestly, the NCR would probably treat you pretty badly too. But the Legion would make you a literal slave in every meaning of the term, so.
NCR? If you like oppressive bureaucracy that doesn't give two rads about you, and
Listen, I just like their cool armor, man.
taxation, then this is the place for you. In truth, most of us would probably fit right in here because it's basically the real-world dystopia we've created for ourselves. The Institute sounds like
Def joining the NCR if Milf Daver is still alive in this, era.
could provide a comfortable life, at least if you have a high degree of moral flexibility and the IQ
I 100% have moral flexibility if I am in the wasteland, just teleported there. Like, for sure, dude. Just bring me to safety. Like, if I can't find... You know what my ideal life is? Joining... Damn, what was the vault number? I don't remember the vault number, but joining the vault that Lucy and Maximus ended up falling into. That's my dream. I just want to worship Moldaver. Let me in there.
actually be useful to them. Considering how high their IQ requirements are, you're probably better off back topside, harvesting irradiated potatoes like the good little post-apocalyptic peasant you are. Listen, there's nobody who would want to be an Atom Cat, but let's be honest, if you
Have you seen their logo, though? You've seen those jackets?
know enough about Fallout lore to know who the Atom Cats are, then you're definitely not cool enough to be an Atom Cat. Nice try, nerd. Go back to your potatoes.
Actually
the
true, though.
railroad seems nice, and in truth, they probably are.
Yeah, you know what? The railroad, they probably would treat you very well. Let's see how he speaks poorly of them. Unless he's just going to say you're eating trash and you're living poorly, which they are.
Meritocracy fighting for the freedom of synths is probably about as good a moral choice as you're going to get with wasteland allies. But you're going to spend your entire life on the run, hiding in random basements while eating canned food. That doesn't sound too bad considering your alternatives, but the Institute will eventually drown the railroad in an endless tidal wave of synths because you are definitely not the main character, making them a poor choice of a faction to join. It's best you go solo, which means you're going to face the other horrors of the wasteland alone. And on top of the various gangs of raiders, you've got very real, absolutely insane, terrifying human monsters to contend with. No, we're not talking about Kanye West. We're talking about ghouls. These are radiated
When
humans.
did this come out? 4 months ago? All right. Is that like at the peak of Kanye being insane? I think it's a little bit after, but all right.
Had their brains turned to mush a long time ago and became antisocial to the point of being irrational, hyper-aggressive, and feral. And
You just like me, for real, for real. Shout out to my antisocial fellas.
hey, we realize this is sounding a lot like Kanye West, and I'm gonna let you finish, but first we'll explain what ghouls really are. Some of the more ancient ghouls come from the pre-war population that survived the friendly game of catch that the United States and China played with their respective nuclear arsenals. Large segments of the surviving population became trapped in highly irradiated cities, with the radiation eating away at their brain while mutating their physiology to become extremely resistant to radiation. As a side effect, they were able to basically feed off the radiation, greatly lengthening their lifespan. Because to be totally
Would you
honest,
like to be a ghoul? Not a feral ghoul, of course. But let me know in the comments. Would you prefer to just die on the blast or become a ghoul? Like the ghoul from the show. A proper ghoul. A non-feral ghoul.
Tim Kaine really liked the idea of zombies, but had to figure out how to make them fit in the Fallout universe.
I think he did it
Ghoul
well.
bodies are powered by the magic of Tim Kaine's imagination, which means firearms and even improvised weapons are only so effective against them. Shooting a real human straight in the brain or in the heart is a good way of politely asking them to reconsider their current course of action. But a ghoul can survive even this catastrophic damage. Even worse, they feel very little pain, forcing the more feral amongst them to attack you mindlessly regardless of the damage you cause
Yeah,
to their
even if you
irradiated
shoot off
bodies.
a leg or a
And just
head.
like feral dogs, ghouls almost always come in packs. So maybe you're not a fan of land-based wildlife. Maybe
The
you're more
mud
of an
crabs,
ocean and seafood
the
kind of person.
mirelurks.
Then good news, because the radiation of the Fallout wasteland has jumbo-sized all kinds of crustaceans. The bad news is, this time it'll be you going into the boiling pot while still alive. Mirelurks are some of the most common types of irradiated seafood
I would eat a mirelurk more than most food items, not from a vault. Like iguana on a stick, I don't want that. I'd eat a mirelurk, though.
to prowl the wasteland, and these heavily armored angry boys got their start even before the Great War.
I could never kill one though.
Years before the US and China decided to do a global server reset, various environmental organizations were sounding the alarm on the effect that increasingly polluted waterways were having on sea life. Lobsters, crabs, and shrimp were experiencing a mutation that caused them to grow as much as 14%. In the most realistic piece of Fallout lore ever, governments and corporations completely ignored the consequences of pollution and instead continued to dump even more waste into the environment, citing how great a crabbing season with 14% larger crabs would be. However, the global powers decided to finally get tough on corporate pollution by nuking the entire face of the Earth, thus putting in
You know, I do wonder how much they nuked Africa, because all the nukes are hitting Africa right now. Todd said that Fallout's going to remain like an American story, but I do wonder what it's like out there in EU and whatnot as well.
It stopped to all industrial pollution everywhere. But that didn't stop the radiation from growing the common crustaceans to monstrous sizes. Mirelurks are a deadly threat to any wastelander. Their thick armored carapace is pretty much bulletproof, and their powerful claws will give you a bristle
Nah,
you'll
yeah,
never
there's no killing this, respectfully.
forget, because you'll be dead. While most of their ancestors were filter feeders, Mirelurks prefer real meat and can be surprisingly agile and quick while hunting. Their only real weak spot is their tiny little faces. And let's be real, none of you are good enough a shot to hit such a small target while running
So
for your
true.
life.
Unless the VATS works.
You might be aces at your local shooting range, but try to hit such a small target while not Hershey squirting your underwear, it's a different thing altogether. Moving up the food chain, where you're firmly the bottommost link, you've got the super mutants. These genetic freaks are the result of human experimentation
That's
with a
GG's.
forced evolutionary virus, which is totally different from Resident Evil's progenitor virus for various copyright reasons. Humans are obviously flawed creatures, so in order to build a better tomorrow, the entity known as the Master decided that creating mutant copies of humans was a pretty smart way of getting rid of those flaws. This genius plan didn't quite go according to, well, plan, and super mutants quickly swept across the wasteland as they forced others to undergo the same exposure to the evolutionary virus that they received. Some super mutants are
Honestly, getting the FEV ain't too bad. In this scenario, if I could be a smart super mutant, I might sign up.
to the Master's dream for future humanity. Stronger, tougher, immune to most sickness, and radiation-proof, while also retaining their intelligence. But most had their intelligence reduced to that of the average Twitter user, while becoming
Bars.
hyper-aggressive and antisocial to anyone that wasn't part of their clan. Yeah, so exactly like the average Twitter user.
Bars.
Oh, sorry, we forgot. It's called...
Yo, shout out this channel. I didn't think this channel would be roasting the silly Twitterhead users. It seems very, what's the word, sterile, you know, the infographic show.
X now. Thanks, Elon. These angry, irrational, unnaturally strong creatures
I
are
don't
more
like where he's holding. I don't like the framing of this at all.
likely to rip you limb from limb than engage in a civilized, intelligent conversation. Turns out you have limbs, which means you're in serious danger of having them ripped off upon being discovered by super mutants. They can
Yeah,
run
you'll def find me in a meat bag. You'll also find yourself in a meat bag if we're being real.
faster than you, are much stronger, nearly immune to all disease and radiation, and can even recover from deadly wounds through regeneration. Unless you're packing some serious firepower or have a lot of friends, your first encounter with a super mutant is likely going to be your last. There's a plethora of other irradiated horrors, like Yuan Ti,
Oh, God.
Cazadors, or
Cazadors. Bro. Any flying creature, give me a death claw. Just make it quick. Do not make me fight these flying things.
mosquitoes the size of combat drones, even real-life space aliens. But sitting atop the fuck around and find out chart are two of the most deadly monsters in all
Deathclaw?
the wasteland. The first is the Behemoth, which is basically
Where's my death claw? I assume after this.
just a super mutant the size of a house. Much like Alex Jones, the Behemoths are big, angry, paranoid, and not very bright. Unless you've got serious firepower, your best bet is to lay low. And we do mean serious firepower. Their sheer mass alone means that even high-caliber rifle rounds simply won't do enough bodily damage to be life-threatening. All you'll do is annoy them. If you're thinking of taking on one of these monsters, first ask yourself, do I have at my disposal a level of firepower equal to that needed to take out a U.S. Army
Wow.
M1 Abrams main battle tank?
GG's. Can a fat man take out a... I don't think it can.
Because if your answer is no, I do not have at my disposal a level of firepower equal to that needed to take out a US Army M1 Abrams main battle tank, then your best bet is to run and hide. And if you choose to run, always remember to use the buddy system. That is, trip your buddy so the behemoth eats them and not you.
True.
Second only to
Actually,
the behemoth is the Deathclaw.
Let's go. Deathclaw representation. Let's go. Still waiting for season 2 of the Fallout show so we can see a Deathclaw.
Before the Great War, the United States military thought to itself, we have the best army in the world and the best trained soldiers in the world, but what if we also created mind-numbing man-made horrors beyond human comprehension for urban combat that we absolutely could not control, and thus would be a danger to not just the enemy but also our own troops and the civilian population at large? The US military isn't about to leave a good idea that can maim, kill, or annihilate sitting on the table.
So true.
So the Deathclaw program was approved. Refined by the forced evolutionary virus and exposure to radiation, the Deathclaw quickly spread across the wasteland. This legendary monster has become the king of the food chain, and breeding pairs have been found all the way in the former US Capitol. Deathclaws are the supreme angry boys, with the claws on their hands being as big as the average short sword. And if you know the average length of a short sword, then you're definitely not surviving the Fallout wasteland. For those of you who don't have an unhealthy obsession with medieval weapons, that's between 2 and 2.5 feet long. Top this off with incredible speed, agility, a mouthful of steak
Jesus. 2 to 2.5 feet long. That's crazy.
knives, and a hide thick enough to be resistant to firearms, and we can guarantee that you'll be in for a bad time. Deathclaws are also intelligent, and they absolutely love murder. It's literally their favorite thing ever. And short of a nuke it from orbit, it's the only way to be sure option. There's basically nothing you can do if one sets its sights on you.
But
The
what
best
about
option is to
power
brown your
armor?
pants so you can at least die with the satisfaction that you'll taste bad going down. Now go check
All right.
out why you wouldn't survive World War III.
These aren't as interesting. We like Fallout over here. All right, that was a mad fun video. Shout out to Topher once again for the recommendation. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know I did. Thanks for watching. I'll see you when I see you.